I have always had the feeling that Grant was indestructible, and he, has always had that feeling too. And I think confidence goes a long way in these things. If you have a momentary lapse of confidence, that is when a mistake or a moment, a loss of concentration can occur. But Grant is the guy that you get to dodge the cars, run to the edge of the cliff, slide down the cliff on fire, jump into the water and fight the shark. And he'll work out how to do that. He may ask you not to do it all in one shot, but he'll work out how it can be done. This is a guy who's got an extraordinary personality that actually, that great sort of laconic Australian confidence in the outcome of everything shines through with Grant, and people love him. He's just, he has great charisma, great charm, and I thought, well, this is someone who should be in front of the camera and not just doubling for other people. So I will create vehicles in which he is seen to be doing his own stunts, and he will be seen to be doing, being himself. So Grant was in everything that I made from the moment that I, became his manager, and then after Man from Hong Kong and Death Cheaters, George Miller approached me to, engage Grant's services for Mad Max, and Grant did a brilliant job with a broken leg the entire shoot. That's the kind of guy he is. I designed Stunt Rock as a launching pad for Grant's international career, and I had this crazy idea in the shower one morning. A famous Australian stuntman meets famous American rock group. Much stunt and much rock takes place. The kids will tear up the seats. What's not to like? If I can do it, if I can then put him in with an American visible identity, a good band, then something might happen. It would appeal to teenagers, and his work would get seen, and things would happen. And indeed, things did happen after Stunt Rock for him, and he was cast in The Island. He's the pirate who sets his hair on fire. He choreographed all the stunts for City on Fire and for Death Ship, two American productions that were theatrically released all over the world. He did another picture in Africa as a result, and not that long ago he did the stunts for a Bollywood movie. But the idea of Stunt Rock was to launch him to a wider audience and a wider market, and to a certain limited extent it succeeded. Stunt Rock is really a 90-minute trailer. It's a love letter to stuntmen and a paean of praise to Grant and his ability. And I have made over 120 trailers for theatrically released films, many Australian trailers, British trailers, a few American trailers. And I am conscious of the fact that the world's attention span is shrinking, and I was conscious of that in 1978. And I thought, well, why not compress all the stuff you possibly can into 90 minutes? And so it doesn't have, a 3-act structure or a deep and meaningful story in which a character's arc causes him to change his worldview or whatever. But is that really what the kids are interested in? I think they're interested in guys setting fire to their pants and blowing shit up. So why not give them a film full of that and some hairy people thrashing guitars? So that was my initial somewhat Philistine concept, and I attacked it with gusto. The financier had, well, A Dutch distributor had bought Death Cheaters and said, if you ever have a bright idea for another film, come and see us. So I called them and said, I got this idea called Stunt Rock. And I wrote 6 pages, a 6-page treatment, and sent it to them. And they said, we like this, yes. Come to Holland at your own expense. We'll give you a hotel, but you fly to Holland, and we'll do a deal. And so my wife and I went to Holland, and a deal was done, which was basically go to Hollywood immediately, make this in America. It has to be ready for Dutch theaters by June, and this is like December the 17th. And we'll provide you with a band, because we own publishing rights to many major American bands, Kiss, the Eagles. It'll not be a problem. So I fly back to Australia. I quickly get John Seal to shoot some more stuff for me on 35mm. I'd actually shot one of the key stunts of Danger Freaks, the catapult stunt, and the Flying Fox on fire stunt on 35mm at the time, thinking ahead of the game, I'm going to need this one day, and I'm going to need it for something theatrical. The Dutch company said, go to Hollywood, get it. We'll give you a Dutch co-star, Monique van der Ven, who has been in Paul Verhoeven's films, and she'll give us visibility in Holland. You have Grant Page, he'll give you visibility in Australia. We'll give you a top American band. They'll give you visibility throughout the rest of the world. Looking good. So I go and shoot a quick, a little bit more stuff on 35, head for Hollywood in early January, and then we start prep. And of course, I don't have a script. So I'm busy writing a script and realized that I'm going to need help. So I brought in Paul Michel Milcher, who was a screenwriter known to our line producer, Marty Fink, who was the line producer of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and had nothing to do that month and maybe foolishly took this job, but we got along very well. So he brought me quite a lot of talent who would work cheap on what was a 15-day shoot in Los Angeles. So we whipped up a script, but for me it was always about the stunts. And I had all the 16mm material that I'd shot for Danger Freaks. And my concept was to do a kind of stunt version of Mad Dogs and Englishmen. Multiple panel 16mm, putting those stunts to fast driving rock and roll music. I didn't have the music, didn't even have the band, but I worked with Earl Watson, a great editor, to design these multiple panel sequences, but believing one day we would have rhythms that would make them work, and songs that would also be songs that would be appropriate to what we were seeing, unlike some music videos today. So this went on, and we were no closer to getting a band. And eventually they said to me, well, we can't find a band. I mean, I had flown to New York and met with Foreigner. And Foreigner said, gee, this is great. We'd love to do this, but you're going to have to wait till our tour is over in 6 months. And the financiers said, no, we have to have this in Dutch theaters by June. I think, in fact, the real reason the film was greenlit was that the relevant Dutch executive wished to winter in Beverly Hills as opposed to ride out the winter in Holland. So great, and it works for me. And I get to make my first Hollywood movie of a sort for $450,000, and $150,000 was ultimately then subsequently spent upon the music. So they said, we can't find a band by Monday or we shut down the picture. So I went and found a band that you find by Monday, a young, enthusiastic bunch of guys in Van Nuys who had previously performed once at the Whiskey on Sunset had been declared illegal by the fire marshal because they fired propane from their fingertips. They were a sort of combination of, it was kind of a magic show meets Kiss. There's a Gandalf-type wizard battling with a prince of darkness, doing magic illusions, not quite of the level of Copperfield, and some heavy metal driving rock and roll going on around them. And I thought, wow, this will work. They're not a name, but they have visual energy, and I think they're fun. So. And if I get them by Monday, I get to make my movie. So we duly had them, and we shot Stunt Rock. And I had not seen it for nearly 30 years until a collector, because it has become something of a much sought after cult item, and a collector actually had a print, and he ran it at a movie theater after midnight here for an audience of Stunt Rock fans that got to hear about it. So I watched it, and indeed, it is a 90-minute trailer for stuntmen in general and Grant Page in particular. I smile a lot at the whole the song "You're a Stunt Rocker." Everybody looks at you, and. I have a lot of favorite sequences. It's hard to say. Seeing it with the audience of cult fans is really interesting. They loved the nostalgic look at LA in 1978. So all the candid shots we took around LA, Tower Records and up and down Hollywood Boulevard as it was then. But gee, that's a hard one. What is a favorite sequence? In some respects, the great sequences are in the stock footage. Toby Halleck's Gone in 60 Seconds, which I reduced to a minute and a half, basically, and we licensed that footage for the film. It's a silly film in some respects, but I think it's a good-hearted, enjoyably silly film, and it plays very well to today's short attention span. And just watching the audience, look at it, and then they were being polite. They gave me a standing ovation at the end of the show, and but I tend to go to movies with the public rather than at special screenings, because I want to gauge the buzz of the audience. I want to feel where something goes flat, and sometimes looking at your own films can be a little alarming in that regard. Oh God, there's a flat patch. Should have got the scissors in there. But they were swept along by it, despite the lack of story, characterization, or particularly distinguished acting. So it was I think they recognized it for what it was, which was a paean of praise to stuntmen and a young rock band that were totally passionate. Sorcery is totally passionate about what they do, and you can't knock that.